Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of the world you are in. Welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict Live. So good to see you guys. Funny, Ross, Friday goes by so fast.
I know.
It just has been a week ago. So here it is. Yeah. So anyway, good to see you guys. Glad you are here joining us, for all of you. And we are so excited to be here. So we're going to have a very impactful hour, shall we say, of an in-depth conversation. We're going to cover a host of issues, but there is one specific topic we're going to talk about. So, but before we do that, what are we on the account, Ross?
Well, you know, our goal. This is a joke that started with a suggestion of one of you, that we should have 70 million subscribers. And so we've had a lot of fun with this, and people are playing with us. And I think we're getting closer.
Well, you're right. Actually, according to the calculations I did, and I just did it this morning, we are short 69,967,300 subscribers.
We're getting closer every minute.
So, yeah. But on a serious note, truly, we do appreciate it. So, because we did notice some individuals that subscribe to our channel. Some of them, for the first time, they came across our channel unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And they liked the content. They liked it, and they said they subscribed. So we want to thank you for that. We also want to thank our Patreon members for their continued support. Speaking of Patreon members, I just had a chance about two days ago, guys, to some of you who signed up into Discord. We had some conversation there, and of course I answered some questions. Russ wasn't able to join me. He was busy with some other stuff, but usually he does get onto that as well. If you truly have some specific questions, sometimes I get on that Discord. Just get on it. I'll be there. Sign up for it, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. So as to the website, it's moving forward. We're getting closer little by little. And also, we want to thank our producer for this. By the way, Elizabeth, why don't you come over here? Say hi to everybody here. So, here is our producer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth. I'm always behind the scenes, but I love reading your comments. And I wanted to let you know that the membership is coming. And in the membership, there's going to be private Q&As. There's going to be presentations that these guys can dive way deeper into the topics than we can on YouTube for obvious reasons. So be on the lookout for the website. It is coming. And thank you, guys.
Well, we do certainly appreciate you for all you do for our channel. So truly, guys, without her, it would be no YouTube channel.
That's the truth.
That's the truth. And she's a producer by training. So anyway, so we are so grateful to have her. So what else? What is the we need to cover as far as the housekeeping? That's about it.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to our viewers for their comments.
Oh, yes.
Incredible. So,
it's just been a week since we were with you all before. And so many remarkable things are happening geopolitically worldwide.
Indeed, with the chaos that's going, so many moving parts. Where do we start?
Well, here's a place to start. Germans are going to the polls next week.
You're absolutely correct. On Sunday. Interesting enough that Canada just had its elections. Germans going on Sunday. Australians going to be in a few months. The US will be in a few months, 2022. So you can see the changes. What's interesting about German is that Angela Merkel wanted to step down. This is my personal opinion. I have a great admiration for that lady.
I do too.
She's, as you may know, her background was in politics. She was a quantum chemist. That's her background. She was a scientist. But she is a good listener. I followed up on one particular case with when she went to a small village, and one individual, she had a beer with a local guy, and the local guy is a diehard supporter of the Green Party, not even her party. And guess what? She listened to what he had to say, expressed his opinions, and she apologized to him.
Really?
I mean, how often would you see a politician truly apologizing? She is
Zero.
Zero. You're right. She's remarkable. So personally, I see her the best, better than Gerhard Schröder, better than Helmut Kohl, and better than Helmut Schmidt. Those are former chancellors of Germany. So it'll be interesting to see who the Germans going to vote for come this Sunday.
The United States conflict over the debt ceiling.
Oh, that is a big one, especially with what just took place with Evergrande.
Oh, boy.
But this one mainly has to do with the US. There are two doors, shall we say. So if you open the first door, you know what you'll find behind it? Is that we might default on our national debt. Okay?
Oh, you talk about economic chaos.
Exactly. Then if you open the second door, you will be finding out that we have to deal with increasing the debt ceiling. We have no way out of it, which means what? That means the government will be shutting down by next Thursday if they don't come to an agreement on this. So it'll be interesting to see.
You think the implication is higher prices?
Well, that's for sure. But the implication also, it's that, Americans are so sleeping. They have no clue what's taking place, letting the politicians do whatever. That's why politicians kind of play with the game. That's what they do. I care less for politicians anymore.
This is kind of a shocker. Argentina plans to buy fighter jets next year.
Actually, indeed, that's for their budget. In Argentina, yes, they are allocating about $700 million for that one. I don't know what the purpose of that one is, but of course they have to update their military stuff. But given where Argentina's economy is, and it's not in a good shape, the allocation of this now is going to trigger some internal domestic issues. And one of our viewers, Ariel, will be the one to comment on this because he knows about this country very much. So,
Biden.
But the thing, by the way, the Argentina is going to want to buy from China and wants to buy from Russia and even to some degree from the US. But we all see which country they're going to go with. I bet she's not going to go with the US. I'm leaning towards.
That's a big story all in itself, but that's not on topic today. President Biden called the Prime Minister of France, Macron, to admit missteps.
Oh, indeed. The president reached out to Emmanuel Macron just to say sort of, we have to deepen our relationship. Oh, wait a minute. That's just like you and I. We're friends, and guess what? I stabbed you in the back or did something not to your liking, and I'll come to you and said, by the way, we have to strengthen our friendship. That's just hypocrisy at best. And the other thing is that the UK Prime Minister reached out to France's President Macron to have the same conversation. We need to deepen our cooperation. You guys stabbed the country in the back, and you expect to deepen the relationship?
$50 billion plus stab in the back.
That's the European 50 billion euros. Yeah.
Oh, that's even more.
But it's just the fact that they went about it. We all know we did the video on it. It's not a good way. I don't. Now the thing is, Ross, France will have to stand up, and I don't see them. France is not as strong as we might think. Because if I were advising the French president, my advice will be you need to take stand on this because, it's just you're going to appear weak. There are a lot of our viewers, by the way, made comments that, and some of them were right. There's like France is not going to do anything because the US can give them a bone to show on some other parts of the world, and that's it. So,
well, they certainly made a bold move by recalling their ambassador.
Well, they sent them back.
Oh, they did.
They went back. Yeah, that's why I don't see a strong. France is not that strong as he might wants us to believe.
The Taliban want to recover the looted funds from Afghanistan.
Oh, indeed. The spokesperson, Dabihullah, just announced that they want to recover the money from that. But what's interesting about that is not that statement. What's interesting about it is the statement that comes after that, which stated, and I quote, "We wanted to strengthen our relationship with Moscow and Tehran, with Russia and Iran."
Oh,
makes you wonder. because we all know their relationship with China is going to be an economic one. The one with Russia and Iran is going to be on a political side. That's how I read it. That's how I read it. It was a very interesting statement. So now they are saying that they're going to reinstitute the executions.
Yes.
They're going to reinstitute the chopping of hands if you steal. That's according to the laws. So it's when the U.S. saying, oh, the Taliban's going to do this, going to do that, some in Washington have no clue. They have no clue about
some. Okay.
Oh, maybe all.
Bahrain, human rights atrocities in prisons. The United States says nothing about it.
Yeah, shame on the United States not saying anything about what Bahrain is doing. And I think I had a word about it somewhere that I wrote down for the atrocities they were committing. Yeah, I mean you're talking about even children, including minors. And we the United States say inquire about the atrocities being committed. Why? Because those are the Gulf states, and remember, we do have some of our fleets close by. In Bahrain and all that stuff. So it's such a hypocrisy, when you got a country like that, I mean, what's going on in these prisons? It just doesn't come out, The same thing the Saudis were doing to their opposition people, and yet the United States is not saying a word. So,
yeah, where's all the talk about democracy and freedom and self-expression and human rights? That's a whole big topic in and of itself.
And we will tackle it one day. We're gonna address that one.
Tunisia is descending into chaos.
Oh. Yeah, Tunisia is going down. Gone those days of democracy, so-called democracy. And it's just because this president, I think, they want to take over everything, which, I wrote a book way back in 2014 or whatever. And I argued about, in the book, I argued that there will never be democracy in the Arab world, democracy that the West think it should exist in the Arab world. Why? For a simple reason, guys. Because in the Arab world, there is no separation between church and state. Church being a mosque in this case, and state being the government. And till you educate the people, till they understand, it's not going to be. So the West was chasing a mirage by saying, oh, the Arab Spring is going to introduce democracy to the Arab world. That's nonsense.
Well, it did introduce an enormous amount of chaos, death and destruction.
You're right.
And no accountability to the U.S. officials involved.
Yeah.
What a surprise. The Quad is meeting today.
I know. Whoever thought? There is now a rising, not tensions, but concerns inside Beijing because the way now Beijing, China start looking at the Quad, it's the mini NATO, Asian NATO. That's how they're looking at it, Even though there are those who are saying, well, the Quad was sidelined, Was sidelined? Not because those are two different tracks as far as where the Quad is and as far as where the AUKUS is. The Australia, UK, and the United States.
Yeah.
And Canada, by the way, was marginalized from that alliance, shall we say. So we will talk about that later on. But yeah. So
that's another really interesting topic. We need to hit that one.
Exactly. So the Quad now, it will be what the purpose of it, it's useless. It's really useless, And the thing is sending the message that, we do want to encircle China, and despite what you hear, in the United States and in London, in Washington and London, they're saying, oh, we don't want any Cold War. Well, you are creating the setting for it. How can you create a setting and you're saying, you're doing one thing and saying another? That's just, hypocrisy.
Is it a fait accompli? I mean, is the Cold War in Asia really?
I think so.
I think so.
It's just not going to be in the same setting that you and I understand about the Cold War back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It's just going to be different.
It's going to be radically different.
Yeah. So, but as far as whomever is thinking we're not going into that direction, living in another world, shall we say. So, but this Quad thing and the AUKUS thing, those are the setting for what a Cold War will be about.
Absolutely. Well, shall we move on to
Our topics.
Canada?
Let's talk about Canada. All right.
There's so much to talk about here. Where should we start?
Well, we should, the reason, guys, we want you just to know why we decided to talk about Canada here. Well, we're going to talk about Canada because of the recent elections that just took place, okay? And the second point of that is how this election now is going to impact the direction Canada moving forward, especially when it comes down to Meng Wanzhou's case, especially when it comes down to Canada-China relations,
Yes.
especially when it comes down to where the global order is going. So, but there is one key point that a lot of people do not know is that these elections were called by the Prime Minister himself, by Justin Trudeau.
This looks, when you look at the result, the fact that he was reelected as a minority party, you say, this guy just pulled off a remarkable coup politically.
And that's what it was, because the purpose of the call for this re-election wasn't about, it was about the seats in the parliament. Because his party, the Liberal Party, does not have a majority.
Right.
So to pull this stunt, political stunt that is, to rearrange the sitting in a parliament, because you want to have a majority, but it didn't work. Canadians were savvy enough to think in terms of, we might want to re-elect him, and this is the decision for Canadians. You know, they are entitled to choose whomever.
Absolutely right.
But they understood the game, because it was no need for the recall for the elections, snap elections right away. You know, and that's where he was calculating that he could have the seat. Now, the issue is not only about that. Now that supposedly been given another mandate by the Canadians.
Supposedly is the right word.
Yeah, because that's how I see it. How he's going to handle the case of Meng Wanzhou. And her case is moving to another phase, shall we say. And we're gonna do a video about it, by the way. And yes, we're gonna recall our great guest from Canada to address this particular topic again. So that's what we're gonna be doing. So, but the case of how Justin Trudeau is gonna move forward, nobody knows. Nobody knows.
You know, I saw an interview with three of the representatives of three major parties.
Yeah.
And they wanted to disagree with each other on all sorts of things. But when it came to China, there was no disagreement. They wanted, they made, we need to stand strong against China. We need to unite with America and Great Britain and Australia. Australians are really heroes in this battle. They're going,
wow. Yeah. Well, if they only know what's going on with Australia with all the lockdown and the demonstrations. I don't know if you guys were aware of what's taking place. As a matter of fact, we do have one of our viewers from Australia, and it was kind enough to send us really information from within.
yes,
Which does not get disclosed in the media. Here's an example. And I like to reserve not to disclose his name out of respect for him. Till I get his permission to disclose his name next time, and I'll be happy to do it. But for now, we're not. And what he said was, and I truly admire this guy. I truly admire him for not only the way he articulated the issues and all that, but the civil discourse in such a respectful way.
yes.
And that's a testimonial to our viewership, what we have here. So, and what he said basically was that farmers in Australia are scared to speak up for fear of retaliation. That's why we don't hear much about it. And why is that? It's because the media under Murdoch, which we all know controls as a matter of fact, it was Murdoch that assisted Morrison and Dutton. Dutton is the Secretary of Defense in Australia, for them to be in the position where they are at.
Well, where's democracy? Where's the human rights?
Yeah.
Where's the philosophy of the West when we see it? No point going any further.
Yeah, I know it's about, but what's going on in Australia is very alarming.
Very
alarming. We don't hear much about it here in the US. We don't hear much. You know, I check most of the media outlets here in the US. I don't see that much. You don't see much. So just to go back to the one of Canada, the idea of when Canada said, we got to stand with Australia, UK, and the US and all that. The case of Meng Wanzhou will be one of the factor that's going to determine exactly what's going to be happening to Canada moving forward. And what's interesting enough is that we did our own research and find out some information that have not been disclosed before. And we decided we're going to share some of it with our viewers today.
Oh, excellent.
So and we can do it in chronological way, just to go about all this. So, and the reason we wanted to do this, guys, it's because we wanted to highlight sometimes having an understanding of the chronological events will give you an idea of why events happen the way they happen.
Can we start with 2015?
Sure, Ross. Why don't you?
The Council on Foreign Relations released a report made by Robert Blackwell, and it's the grand strategy toward China. And it was support and cooperate, changing to pressure and competition.
Wow.
That's 6 years ago.
Wow. I might even go further than this. I'm going to go back to 2008.
Oh, good.
Yeah. In 2008, U.S. has reached reconciliation or signed a deferred prosecution agreement. It's called the DPA, Deferred Prosecution Agreement, on sanction violations with non-U.S. banks. And why is that important? Because some of the banks, like Standard Chartered Bank, paid $227 million in reconciliation in 2012. And also paid another $639 million for reconciliation in 2019.
That adds up to almost $1 trillion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yeah,
I mean, this is outrageous.
Exactly. So HSBC paid about $875 million in 2012. Commerce Bank, and this Commerce Bank, by the way, guys, is in Germany. I had to call some of my people, and I found out the bank is in Germany. It's called the Commerce Bank. Paid about $259 million for reconciliation on March 2015. Crédit Agricole, which is a French in Paris, paid about $330 million in October 2015.
Who's receiving this money?
Well,
okay.
Yeah, they're going to find that.
Okay.
Yeah. Société Générale Group, which is a French, again, bank, paid $54 million in 2018. And Hypocrisy Bank, this one is a German, paid about $553 million in 2019. So the purpose of all these payments, it tells you right there that they were under pressure from the U.S. Justice Department. So you can just see why the case of Meng Wanzhou went a different direction altogether. It became more than just extradition.
Oh, in quoting Trump, he said, well, I'll intervene if it helps us strike a wonderful deal with China.
Yeah, in other words, using pressure. Yeah.
Using that kind of pressure. Yeah. It had nothing to do with the merits of the case.
Exactly. So what did you find on your end, Ross?
Well, we were looking at national security strategy, and the consensus was it's time, this is 2017, it's time to do a major reassessment of our position on China to further the discontent.
Yeah, and that tells you right there where this case of Meng Wanzhou, was really set up from way back. And we're gonna do a video about it because we did promise our viewers we're gonna do an update, and we got some information also about what Judge Holmes' position in all this, because Meng Wanzhou's verdict now is being pushed to mid-October. But here's the catch. If there is an appeal, that could drag for years. And we want our viewers to have an idea. And just to tie it to what we're talking about today when it comes down to the elections in Canada, this is where it becomes now upon Justin Trudeau to decide. Does he want to drag Canada longer than he has to into this fiasco? Because it is a fiasco, basically, or does he want to put an end to it? Because the system in Canada, as Richard Curlin explained to us, and we're going to have him back for another interview to even further this, put an end to it, and that's it. Because Canada, the government, knows that what they did was illegal. They know what they did was wrong. And they can't be just dragging this forever.
With the three political parties so adamantly positioned against China, Trudeau is in kind of an iffy situation.
Yeah,
he's got to keep the support of the Canadian people.
Yeah,
and the major parties are saying we want to get after China.
Yeah, well, also because there's the two Michaels, of course, in China.
Oh, yeah.
But the issue is not about just the two Michaels. There is a third element. There's a third person, a Canadian, who is on a death row for drug dealings in China. And his case is kind of, you don't hear much about it.
No, not much at all.
And that's the Chinese laws and so forth. But, it's going to become now the question for Justin Trudeau. Yes, he won the re-election here and all that, but that's not enough. That ain't going to be enough because politically speaking, Man Wanzhou's case is at the core of where this political trajectory of Canada moving forward is going to take.
Going back to our timeline in March of 2018.
Yeah.
Thanks to people who are not quite in power anymore, the US-Chinese trade war broke out.
And that was, during that time. That's exactly when it happens. And that becomes the question of where are they moving forward with all this? And now you add to all this equation, you add what the United States just did with Australia and the UK. You add also the Quad, and you'll see where this is going. So basically, I found it very interesting, Russ. And just to share with you guys, I found it very interesting why Canada was marginalized from this UK-Australia deal. They were marginalized. I just find that out.
Oh, and the political parties are saying we were not marginalized. We weren't. We're involved in it.
No, the truth, guys, is they were marginalized. No matter what you hear, I did find that out. They were marginalized, and they even wondered, should the Canadians saying, should we trust the Americans? No, we all know the answer.
Yes,
we all know the answer. So it becomes very, very concerning.
Well, in June of that same year, 2018, the U.S. Congress began to take action against Chinese companies, Huawei and so on, saying they are a threat to our national defense.
Interesting how they word. You can just put everything under a certain pretext and justify it that way. Interesting enough is that the individuals, the members of Congress who were in Congress and left, guess what they're doing now? They are working for China. Yes, there are some advocating for whatever. So it's just the way it is. That's politicians here in the U.S. and Canada. I would say most of them in the West. They just and this is where I have the admiration for Angela Merkel. She really was something. Despite finding out that the U.S. was spying on her phone, and she moved forward thinking for the welfare and well-being of the German people. She left. She's gonna be leaving office on Sunday, and left the people better off than when she took over 16 years ago. And she's stepping down. She still can run again if she wants to, but she said,
one of the many things that impressed me about her is her relationship with Putin.
Yeah, she doesn't understand the history of.
Well, she's East German for one.
East German for one, yeah,
and they seem to have a cordial relationship.
Yeah,
but that's another topic.
Exactly.
Then in August in 2018, Mrs. Meng Wanzhou was detained
To the
and
case,
then
yeah.
arrested.
Yeah, and that is where you see the chronological. Why is that important again, guys? And once again, we're not defending Meng Wanzhou. No. Yeah, there are those. I still see some comments once in a while from some idiots put in, oh, how much did China pay you for? They pay me zero.
And me zero also.
Yeah, some stupid comments because it's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's not even worth answering to. But so the idea of just to put things in perspective for not only our viewers but whomever comes across our channel to understand what was behind the scenes that led to where things are today when it comes down to Meng Wanzhou. Because here's the concern. And we're going to talk about this in the video when we do our video, because we have some other information that I researched and came across. Will give us an idea and give you a perspective as to where things are going to go if a decision is made not to extradite her. Well, that's one. And the opposite direction. What will happen if the justice minister end up ruling in favor of extraditing her? That's going to be the decision now of, his name is David Limit. David Limit is in Canada. You can be the Minister of Justice, and at the same time you can be the Attorney General. So you hold two positions in one. And it's the Minister of Justice that has the final decision on this, believe it or not.
Oh,
that's
interesting.
a Canadian, and this is where we're going to talk to Richard Curlin down the road when he's available, and we'll invite him again to clarify this. And that will be interesting. And this is why we decided we need to address the chronological, the timeline, for you guys to understand what led to this.
In December in 2018, I think Trump really made his position clear, and he said directly, if I think it is good for what will certainly be the largest trade deal ever made, I will certainly intervene if I thought it was necessary. That is with Meng Wanzhou.
Yeah, and the case it becomes a little bit it's too complicated. It's too complicated, and that's why we wanted to address this today. And we're gonna do a specific video about some certain updates that I believe, or we believe, you guys need to know. So. Okay, so let's talk. Let's take some of your questions, guys. And as we always do, please be kind. Just write the question so we know exactly what that is. A question, not a statement. So.
Question: is Mrs. Meng a criminal? If she is not, is she deserve that? Does she deserve what's happening to her?
As far as the question, the way I will answer this, no, of course she's not a criminal. I mean, that's not a term you use, not you, but not a term we use just loosely. Because when you call somebody a criminal, you have to have, crimes, evidence, and all that stuff. And we're not lawyers to. The case is more of a political one. That is the reason why we wanted to talk about the chronological part, for you to understand the background and why you're seeing what you're seeing. That's
and one of the definitions of a criminal is someone has to lose something. There has to be loss. And the information we have is no one lost anything on this deal. Not the bank, not anybody.
That is correct. And this is why the idea of, in her case, is not a trial.
Right.
Richard, I remember him explaining this very clearly. It's not a trial. There's no crime committed here. So, and that is what makes this case very unique in one end, but also, do I use the term fraudulent? Because you can't just throw everything under legal terms and say, oh, it's a case. No, in all angles, there is none. And that is where the challenge for all this one here.
Well, the United States Justice Department offered Mrs. Meng a deal.
Yeah.
A huge fine, plead guilty, and we'll drop everything.
Yeah. So that would be,
That would be it.
That's why. So I will personally, and my personal opinion, no, I won't categorize her as a criminal. No, not at all. So, let's see the next question. Oh, you remember that one, Russ?
Oh, yeah. Jack Robert.
Yeah.
Why is Canada and New Zealand out of the new AUKUS? New Zealand, the Bunker base for
Bunker.
billionaires. Oh, bunker
Yeah.
base for billionaires that need to be safe. Good question. Why is New Zealand and Canada out?
Well, for Canada, I was out because they didn't want to include that. The reason being because, in my opinion, this is not confirmed yet, but in my opinion, is because the ongoing tensions regarding Meng Wanzhou's case. You know, those kind of issues, guys, do have an influence on the political trajectory. So, in the case of New Zealand made it clear that they are not going to jeopardize their trade with China.
Exactly.
They ain't going to do that just because the US says so or Australia says so. Australia found out, and this is why people in Australia are so mad at the government now. First of all, things happened without their consultation.
Right.
Australians didn't know what was going on. Second, Australia has no clue. When I say Australia, I'm referring to the government, not the people. No clue what are they getting themselves into with this deal per se, because that's usually how you set yourself for tensions to come for years to come. And this is why New Zealand made that decision. We're not gonna get involved. If you guys recall, we did a video about South Korea, when Moon Jae-in refused to condemn or use negative terms against China. Why? Because his country depends greatly when it comes down to trade.
Number one trade partner, come on.
Yeah, and he's not going to risk the economic welfare of his nation just to please the Americans. Australia, the government, again, not the Australian people, the government of Morrison's government didn't think this through. But Morrison was put in position for a reason. As a conservative, you know, that was the whole agenda for what's his name, Murdoch, that was pushing behind the scenes. It pains me to know now that farmers in Australia, based on information from our some of viewers who live in Australia, that farmers could not speak out of fear of being retaliated against. So, like you said earlier, where is democracy into this where you can speak up?
Obviously, not there.
Yeah, business community in Australia having the same issues because they realized that the policies Morrison government embarked on, it really turned Australia's economy upside down. And by the way, did I mention that the US picked up the trade with China that China used to do with Australia? It's not a laughing matter, but
the irony of that is shocking.
Exactly. So that is the reason why New Zealand behaved the way it behaved and why Canada was sort of dropped.
And New Zealand is benefiting and enjoying a great relationship trade-wise with China.
Yeah, they do. Oh.
Axel, after canceling the Keystone Pipeline by the U.S., couldn't Canada export more oil to China? Would the Trudeau administration grab this opportunity or rather stick with the U.S.?
Wow. Axel, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all your comments. I follow Axel's comments, all of you guys, but I truly appreciate you, Axel, for your comments and insights. He shares some perspective that is, we learn from it. I learned from it personally. I want you to know that. So, no, Canada's not going to do that. You will think that will be the right course of action, economically speaking, that will benefit Canada. But I don't see them doing that. Why? Because of the pressure from the US, but also because of the case of Meng Wanzhou. Till that case is resolved and resolved the right way. Because here's the thing, and we're going to talk about this on our video. We don't want to say much, but we'll share a few things. That, you know, the outcome of that decision, if there is an extradition, you know, it's going to change the trajectory for the relationship between China and Canada very, very much. You know, you're going to see some serious some serious development, shall we say. So yes, it will make perfect sense. And your question has some logic to it. It makes perfect economic sense. But Canada is not going to do that. Second thing is that Russia is already, you know, ensuring that access to. As a matter of fact, I just found out that there is an American company, oil company, I forgot the name of it, that wanted to cut a deal now in Poland That has to do with the natural gas.
Mm.
You know, the pipeline that's coming from the Russian part. Yeah, because the way we in the US do not want Russia to be the main natural gas suppliers, you know. Even though we let the deal move forward, you know, it was some give and take, but the Germans wanted to go with the Nord Stream because it makes Nord Stream make perfect sense economically, and the amount, the volume they're going to be receiving from that versus if the United States or any other supplier. So I don't see them doing that one. So.
Ariel.
Here it is, Ariel.
In this new Cold War, as you call it, between the U.S. and China, what do you think would be the overall situation for Latin America, given what's at stake?
That is an interesting question.
That is an interesting question.
And by the way, Ariel, I take this opportunity to say thank you for sending that comment about the Evergrande. I truly appreciate you doing that, because that was Ariel right away send a note for us. Say, hey guys, you guys need to do a video on Evergrande. So thanks to Ariel. That was Ariel. Thank you so much. It's an interesting question, Ariel. And I think what you're starting to see right now with the indication of Argentina allocating the $700 million. And by the way, this is for next year's budget. They're already indicating that the weapon is going to come from 3 countries. But if you see the order, it's China, Russia, and the US. Usually it will be the order of US, Russia, China. It's the reverse. Usually this is a subtle message, in my opinion, for where things are going. Yeah, because this Cold War in the Indo-Pacific area or the whole Southeast Asia region, it's going to be different from the way you and I understand it, the way it happened between the United States and the Soviet Union.
And we certainly see that the Belt and Road Initiative, China is in South America already.
Exactly. Let alone that the U.S. is putting $300 million a year to undermine the Belt and Road Initiative in that part of the world, in Southeast Asia.
Matter of fact, didn't we get a comment from one of our viewers about the debt trap and warning?
Exactly.
From Latin America, saying, what do you think? We're a bunch of idiots?
Yeah.
We know what we're getting into.
Exactly. And since we talked about this one, as we just shared it with our viewers, we had one of the guests here, and we're going to release the video soon. We have one of our guests who is very, very intimate with the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yes.
You know, and he did provide a perspective that I didn't know about. Surely, I did not. And he talks about this particular aspect, how, you know, the corruption that is going on from the West into Southeast Asia to undermine the BRI. You know,
and the falsehood of a debt trap.
Yeah.
He said there's absolutely no basis for that whatsoever. It's all propaganda aimed at China.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, one of the investigations he conducted found, guess who was bribing in, I think, Malaysia or Indonesia, one of those countries? Goldman Sachs. Yeah. We're gonna release that video, guys, soon. So
yeah.
So just the short answer, Ariel, is that it's gonna be once again, it's a different setup, different approach to the Cold War that you and I understand it, that took place between U.S. and Soviet Union. So because this one's gonna be on a multi-dimensional aspect. In other words, this is not about just military arms race. It's gonna be ideological. It's gonna be financial. It's gonna be economic. So, and for Latin America specifically, given that when you look at it right now, for what's taking place in Brazil, when you look at it right now, what's taking place in Argentina, when you look at it, what's taking place in what's the country all the way south, where we have a presence as far as the space
Chile,
Chile, that's correct. So with all the projects that's taking place over there, so you can just see China's gonna move that BRI in that part of the world, but also you will see some major changes when you consider, for example, just how Colombia now is allowing immigrants from Venezuela into Colombia. That is a big development when it comes down to demographics.
Oh, that I didn't know that. That's huge.
It just happened 2 days ago. It was some conversations going on, and there are immigrants from Venezuela leaving into Colombia. So yeah, we'll see some changes coming up, Well, but most of it is going to be in that part of the world. As far as the Southeast Asia, the Indo-Pacific, that's really will be the most. Europe, you might not see much. Latin America is going to be more on the economic front, not a military one. That's usually where we see that happening.
Solowolf? CELAC, South American and Caribbean nations met. They are upset with nations having vaccines, yet many of CELAC nations do not. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you for your questions. Well, it's called what they call now the vaccine diplomacy, because countries are engaging into so-called vaccine diplomacy. So, as a matter of fact, in the US, believe it or not, we have accepted some vaccines from China.
Really?
Yeah. You don't hear much about it here. So we have been accepted, some of them from China. So the US, of course, announced that they're going to produce now about 1 billion vaccine to send to poor countries, because it becomes now which country is the last report that I read about the economic aspects of it pertain to China is that because of their ability to contain the pandemic completely, that's where they are moving forward with whatever they're doing. So that will be very interesting to see. I don't have a lot of information about that one, so I can't speak on it with authority because I do not know. But the one thing I am certain about is that the vaccine diplomacy is very, very aggressive between countries. Let alone that some Scandinavians now decided they're lifting all the restrictions completely.
Weren't we talking with someone in Shanghai recently and said, we don't know anything about masks and containment or anything?
Yeah, exactly.
It's completely open.
Exactly. Scandinavians are doing that. So let's see the next one.
Hey, man.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
How long will this temper tantrum last? The more we try to win a war, the more China will dominate peace.
Wow, that's a great concept. That is great concept.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, because we are thinking in terms of it's like what I said one time, Ross, in our video, that we were talking and I kind of just went very far, and one of our viewers made a comment. He said, you went very far, because I was thinking, what I was thinking about is where the next conflict is going to be. What are the hawks are planning right now in Washington as we speak? That's what I was thinking about at that time. And then that was about a month and a half ago or so, because it made me think, why are we thinking in terms of tensions? Why are we thinking in terms of conflicts? Why are we thinking in terms of war, rather than why not cooperate? Why not create peaceful environment? Why not allow people to progress according to their own orientation, their own whatever,
right,
and live in peace?
Right.
Why not? That's usually what I was thinking about, and the idea of this creating tensions for the sake of prolonging conflicts, because the weapons, the profit, the greed, and all that. China's looking at it the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was one of our viewers made a comment one day. He said, David, why don't you think in terms of, could China, for example, take over within 20 years? If its military strength keeps growing.
You mean take over the world?
Yeah, that was the argument, basically.
Well, historically, they don't want to do that.
Exactly. And
they've had opportunities.
Yeah. I'm glad he asked the question.
Yeah.
In a nice way, per se, and we entered into a conversation, because China's approached it from business deal. We approach things from in terms of conflict. What's in it for the weaponry, for the weapon industry, for the military.
Even though the Chinese Communist Party is not a perfect government, what we have is a very clear dedication to improving the quality of life for the people in China. Yeah. And that's a big job. Taking on the rest of the world, that's just insane.
Yeah, exactly. And just we make it clear, Chinese system is not perfect.
Absolutely
there is no such
not.
thing. There's no such thing. As a matter of fact, there are now the concerns with this Evergrande, for example.
Yes.
Why, for example, Why President Xi will be concerned about that one? It's because you get individuals, Chinese people, okay, who have invested in this Evergrande, their livelihood to have a house.
Right.
Evergrande is in almost every city in China, and to President Xi, if this doesn't get sorted out quickly, you're going to upset people. We all know how that happens in China.
And even though the Chinese people are dedicated to peaceful resolution, we know that they can take to the streets and be terribly violent.
Yeah, well, it's their right because
the great leap forward.
Well, it's because
they're horrendous.
And the idea of their property, they work in their life to improve their conditions. As I always say, when you move to the middle class per se, owning a house or property is one of the indications.
Absolutely,
So,
it's the way to obtain and maintain wealth in China. And other places too, not just China.
yeah, exactly. So that will be the idea of where things are going to be. And I am sure President Xi or the whole CPC thinking in terms of the dynamics internally, it's not like they are this perfect system. It's not. And we intend, by the way, to do a show about the leadership in China, what lies ahead for them moving forward. So. All right, let's see next question.
Michael Fu.
Michael, good to see you, Michael.
I suspect there are more to the two Michaels cases. The Canadian government has been making noises about securing their releases, but never spoke about what they were doing in China.
Yeah. Could this be part of the Five Eyes issue and all that? That's possibility. But because, yes, you're absolutely correct. They will not disclose why they will do it. That's a normal practice, by the way. China's government will not comment on it, and Canada will not disclose that. That's a normal practice, just FYI to know. It would have been the same case had it been, for example, let's say with country A, between the United States and country A. Let's say two of our citizens were arrested in some country A, and that country A is not going to disclose unless if there are only the case of drugs involved, which is, by the way, there is a third Canadian citizen who is now on a death penalty because of drug possession in China, which we all know how the system works in China when it comes down to that. Now, you don't hear much about that. The reason being because the two Michaels were arrested right after Meng Wanzhou was detained. And that is, they're not going to disclose that one. I can confirm that was the case. I'm not privy to that information because those are state secret. So I have no right to know something like this because that's just. But you're absolutely correct in your question. The logical question that Mini will ask is, what were they doing in China? Yeah. And again, because how the system works in China regarding the trial of those cases like that, and how the Canadian is not a system that's not going to disclose the mission of individuals for. That's same for us. For example, if an individual is arrested on espionage, we don't try him or her in an open court. That's going to be off-limit court, and the evidence and all that stuff is not revealed at all. So. All right, next question. Here it is. Berekov. Good to see you, Berekov.
China is showing self-restraint. I agree.
Not
easily provoked against hostilities than the U.S. and allies. Do you see China will change the style in the future, especially to the U.S.?
Well, from a geopolitical perspective, I do see that moving into that direction, especially now with take into consideration the Quad, take into consideration the AUKUS, and it doesn't matter whether AUKUS works or not, whether the Quad works or not. It doesn't matter because what matters is perception. One thing I've learned personally in international affairs or international relations, context matters. The fact that there is a mini NATO alliance in the making in that part of the world to contain China, it's enough to send the message. So, and this is what I believe, which, it's not disclosed openly enough, but inside Beijing, there is growing concern as to where this is going. Yeah, and rightly so, because China is going to have to secure access to waterways. China is going to have to maintain its economy, and China will have also to ensure that it does not get involved in a conflict that could not have the support of its people. So, let alone the complexity of the conflicts. And this is why you see, for example, ASEAN countries are taking a step back. As a matter of fact, we did a video on that, right? And we're going to release it soon. ASEAN countries taking a stand on that one. And their stand, not all of them, by the way, except for Singapore. Singapore have expressed some, shall we use the term agreement? But agreement not on everything, but agreement with the fact that, an alliance like this could exist. That's okay. Philippines also expressed concern, but at the same time stated that it is within the right of a sovereign state like Australia to decide whatever it wants.
And that's
right.
True.
So, yeah, other countries will have to think twice. But to China, it's going to have to think in terms of economic outcome. It's going to have to think of the choking points. This is why, by the way, if I may add this, Beryukov, this is why China now is has already launched some projects in Myanmar. And why is that? That's from a geopolitical and geostrategic perspective, is to decrease, I use the term decrease, is for China to decrease its reliance on the Strait of Malacca. So the one in Myanmar, because they are in the process of constructing a deep water seaport. And as we all know, China imports about almost 80% of its fuel from outside. So that's the last thing they want, because if you cut off the waterways or access to a Strait of Malacca, China will be sort of in a bad position. But with the opening of this seaport in Myanmar, they still, and I believe this, from a military perspective, China still can fight while maintaining its economy.
Oh, nice.
Which is always, because all you want to do in conflicts, whatever, attack the sources of economy first. So that's where we see this is questions.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Dominic Chen, what do you think China would do if Meng Wanzhou is extradited to the U.S.? Oh, wow.
You want to answer that, Ras?
I can see them going truly ballistic on this.
Actually, we do have an answer, but we want to save it for the video.
Yep.
Yeah, we do have an answer. Will that be okay if we save it for the video? Yeah. There are two outcomes. What's going to happen if she doesn't get extradited? What does it mean? But how that will happen in the first place? Okay, because it won't happen in the court. One thing you guys need to know is that Judge Holmes, and I am going to spell it out for you right here. Judge Holmes, it's not assigned to make the decision on whether to extradite or not. Judge Holmes is assigned to make the decision of the legality of the case. Is the prime minister, not the prime minister, the minister of justice, who has the final say into this. And now, if he gets extradited, of course, he's gonna take the relationship, first of all, between Canada and China to a different trajectory altogether, which means it will become even more complicated for Canada, not China, for Canada, that found itself in the middle of this trade war between the United States and China. That's really the issue. The other side to it, if she gets extradited, you're going to be seeing the two Michaels being held indefinitely, and the third person will be executed. Anyway, because he is set for execution, the third person. And that's going to just strain the relationship between Canada and China, and we all know where that's going to lead to. But we're going to address that one in the next when we do the video about the updates from Meng Wanzhou. So, All right. Well, one thing, guys, before we leave, we want to remind you, please follow us on Instagram. Please follow us on Twitter. You know, we start to have some sort of more presence on Twitter as we do things, you know, and once in a while, Ross and I would post some stuff there. So make sure you follow us on those. And of course, we will respond to your comments, which please keep them coming because we do learn from them. Thank you all for sharing. Yes. Because of you guys, that's how we are also confirming certain things. It was one comment, if I may say this quickly. One our viewers mentioned, how come some of our videos come late? Well, they come late for one reason and one reason only, because we have to verify the information, the accuracy of it. We are not in the business of just releasing information if it's inaccurate. We will not do that no matter what the cost is. So if we are to delay by 1 day or two, we'd rather do that and maintain our credibility because that's what matters. So, and we want you to have the right information. So well, with this, anything to add, Ross?
I just want to thank them for viewing.
Yeah, we all thank you so much for your support and
help us get to 70 million.
Oh, I know. We look forward to that. So, well, guys, I hope you have a peaceful rest of the day, whatever part of the world you're in, and we look forward to seeing you next time. And as always, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.